Soccer here in Kansas City was, I think, right at the beginning of 2011, what was still very much an afterthought when it came to Major League Soccer anyway.
The broadcast has changed a lot since back in the days with the Wizards. You know, back then the emphasis really was just on getting something on air.
In 2010, that was the year that we decided to do the television broadcast in-house. Prior to that, it was all done by a local sports company.
Let's put things into perspective here. The team had just rebranded. The stadium wasn't even here.
We basically just took a clean feed from the home truck, had 2 announcers and 1 camera, and that was the extent of our show.
This is actually the first year we've been on 38 The Spot. It's a local television station here in the area, affiliate of NBC.
Well, it's in the first of a 3-year contract, but it's the first time in our history that we've been paid a rights fee for our broadcasts, and that has to do with the growth of the broadcasts over the last 4 years.
The benefits of being on 38 The Spot is it's a recognizable local brand. They play other local sports.
It has the credibility of being a place to watch sports in Kansas City because Kansas basketball used to be on that channel. And it's a local affiliate. I think it's a channel that everybody has. They have
a lot of other sports content, and so being on that helps kind of solidify the local sports brand.
It's not something you have to pay for. It's digital. You can get that in standard definition.
SKCTV, actually back in 2013, we started trying to grow our market area. Up until 2013, we were only on in Kansas City. Now we're on in places like Tulsa, Des Moines.
We'll get groups that come to the game from Sioux Falls, South Dakota. So we're on in Sioux Falls, South Dakota now. So we have affiliates actually in 9 states.
I remember I personally called around to these places when we were trying to get them to pick up our broadcast in 2013, and some of them didn't know what I was talking about. You had people that kind of recognized the Kansas City Wizards, but when I said sport in Kansas City, they said, "Is that MLS? What team are you talking about?" And so just getting into those areas at all has been a big thing because there actually isn't any other MLS teams that are kind of within this middle of America region that would be on television without Sporting going to those areas and showing their games.
I had no clue that they were being broadcast in Des Moines. I wouldn't know the first thing about how to watch a Sporting KC game.
So I think overall, like getting people aware of what Sporting Kansas City is in these different areas and different states is ultimately the biggest hurdle that the broadcast is going to have to overcome, and even just Sporting Kansas City as an organization, as a team.
But I think some of the places you want to hit, or some places you need to advertise, are at the bars, like where the American Outlaws Society for Des Moines. They all go to a couple different bars and watch like the USA soccer games. I'm sure there's some Sporting fans there that might be unaware.
You know, I've talked to so many people. They're like, "Oh, what channel? What channel? What channel?"
I was recently at a Starbucks, and a guy was like, "I know there's a Sporting KC game on. I just don't know where it is. I have no idea where to find it." So he just, stuck with social media to like figure out, what was happening in the game.
I think getting the word out through, I guess, just television advertisements. Even though these are television broadcasts, if, say, you're watching a Royals game or a Chiefs game, and then you see advertisements saying that there is going to be a Sporting game this weekend, that's something that will bring more fans in.
You sit there and you watch shows like ESPN and stuff, and then there's always that like local commercial sponsoring SKC through the commercial, like saying, "Hey, this is a game. If you can't make it to the game, watch it here." I think if you just continue to push for that, and that, our game is at 7 o'clock on Saturday, you can watch it on 38 The Spot. That's the place to go. I think the more you put that in people's heads, whether it's advertising on Twitter, on Instagram. The Sporting KC Twitter already has a bunch of followers, so if you were to make a different one for the actual network, getting involved to where those two are going back and forth so that they can really pull off each other's followers and Twitter feeds and whatnot.
They should be saying, all right, our next game's here and this is where to find us. I think, but most importantly, the social media aspect of it, people are all over social media, And if they know that it's on this channel instead of this one, or you can find it on YouTube.
One of the things we've been looking to this year is trying to get our broadcast promotions and that stuff onto YouTube as opposed to just playing them on television.
More rather than stories on the front page of like, skc.com, show a few like clips of like, oh, this is the broadcast, watch us, watch our broadcast.
The truth of the matter is that promotion is what gets people to turn on the TV. And over the 5 years that we've been doing this, our ratings have risen at first slowly. We went from no rating at all to about a 0.2 the first year, 0.2, 0.25. And then we went up a little bit, and then we took a big jump.
In the 5 seasons that I've been doing this, the broadcast budget has gone up every year as the success and the popularity of the team have gone up.
I know in that 2010 year there was times when they weren't even getting a proper rating, and now it's towards the top end in MLS. It's us and Seattle that are right up there.
The ratings during the playoffs last year were the best ratings we've ever had.
We're averaging about a 1.5, which is up from about a 1.25 last year, which is a pretty good leap if you think about it. I think our goal is our next goal in sight is to get to 2.
And now that we have achieved almost a sustained audience week in and week out, and we're growing in the amount of people that are watching our show, we do need to be consistent in the way we deliver.
So it was a big initiative coming into this year to continue on that success, continue growing the ratings, and we've seen it early this year, having the highest ratings that we've ever had so far this year after winning the championship last year.
The game that we played on Saturday, the entire second half, we were pulling over a 2. And that's pretty good territory for where we are.
I think one of the biggest problems MLS has as far as TV audience goes is having viewers know when it is.
Some kind of semblance of normalcy of time would help as well, because it would mean that you have a almost appointment viewing.
There's the MLS day of the week, but it's at a different time every week. So fans have to go and search for it rather than already knowing what time it'll be.
Obviously we can't control kickoff times and everything, that's down to the league. I personally would love to see more Friday night games. I think Friday night games are great time slots.
As of right now, I would say that probably Friday or Saturday nights around the 7 o'clock range are the best for us.
We are playing a schedule right now. We played a Wednesday night game in Columbus a couple weeks ago and did not draw nearly as well as we had the previous Saturday night when we played at 6:30 Central in Montreal.
I will watch soccer any night of the week, but in my opinion, for a community of people like Kansas City watching soccer, I believe midweek would be a great time to have games broadcast like that.
We found that weekday games actually don't do very well. You would think people are at home, and that weekends people traditionally aren't at home.
It's kind of hard to say. Sundays, Sunday afternoon, no. It just, people are doing other things.
You would, because of that, think that maybe a Wednesday night game would do good TV ratings. What you find is that actually Saturday nights are usually more of the time when people are watching.
To me, I think having the games on the weekends are a great thing. I just think sometimes the broadcast gets missed because of other people's plans.
As for the majority of the audience that's going to watch the game, evening games, so a 7 o'clock game, because you've got the whole 8 to 5 mentality of how people work.
The highest rating we've ever had for a regular season game came on a Wednesday. Go figure. It was an important game in October. It made a big deal. It was a big event, but it's still the highest we've ever had, and it was way up there for us.
I think having a game midweek, although it might be harder to fill the stadium, a broadcast is much easier to be watched by the public.
And it's not just about coming to the games anymore, it's about watching the games, and our ratings have shown that.
It's one of those things where you can tell it's local, but that's kind of the beauty of it.
I like having the local broadcast. I think that's certainly a really neat aspect of it, especially when you have people that know the team so well.
And that's what makes it really great, that employees of the team are the ones in charge of the broadcast and making it look good, where almost any other sport, that's not even the case. It'll be a local television company or a local crew that does everything, whereas with us, we do it all ourselves.
It's more along the lines of what you want to hear because it is solely based on the one team, where with national you have a wide range of subjects that could be covered.
I definitely like the casualness that it has to it, because you get kind of that feeling that it's actual people talking and not like really uptight guys in suits. When you see a couple people sitting down drinking a beer and talking about the game, you think to yourself, like, that's the same thing that you do with like your friends that you watch the game with. So it definitely makes it more relatable.
For us, it's just more about having a broader net to show things. And that could just be more cameras, better cameras.
I think something else that would help is probably, more cameras, more equipment, just little technical things that they would be able to bring with them.
There's something you see that's a difference between ESPN broadcast and Sporting KC broadcast. More angles, slow-mo. I think that's something that the Sporting broadcast misses out on. If they could do super slow-mo like ESPN does, it'd be great.
But just having a good balanced show in the way that you present it, in terms of weighing the options of how much of the game do you show, how much of a replay do you show, how much of fan shots do you show. It's finding a delicate balance in that regard that I think can make any show better for a soccer game.
And if they could show, that offsides one that's right at the 18-yard box where the guy's offside, if they could have that angle from a camera, it would be great. I think that's a replay you have to see, that you want to break away from the game to see.
I think what they're doing works, but I also think that maybe like not necessarily a full-timer female perspective. Maybe that would be nice, or even just bringing in almost like guests.
Just having a different viewpoints, different cultures, that would really help. And also too, with adding females, I feel like they're slowly gaining their way more into sports and the sports broadcast.
Anytime Sporting can get more people as an authority of it, as somebody that shows connection to the team, is the better, just because it looks bigger. It looks more like the big dogs, national TV. What they need to do is just continue to find interesting content in the pregame show, find ways to interact with the fans during the game, or even at halftime. Anytime you see social media on television, it's really cool, and it's kind of exclusive, because if you think about it, if you do the math, the numbers, there's probably 20,000 people that tweet about a sporting game, and only 8 of them are going to make it on television.
Instead of addressing something that specifically someone has tweeted in, or if you tweet this in, we'll mention it on the air, things like that. We've done like Twitter scrolls across the bottom in the past, which you see more and more in sports nowadays.
In terms of how we as a broadcast do on social media, I think we could do a lot better.
Maybe they could do some more fan interaction, like what was mentioned earlier, with having fans have their say on Twitter, show up onto the broadcast or something to that effect.
Give maybe a teaser of here's what we're going to be talking about on the broadcast this week.
Just little funny, humorous attention grabbers that they could tweet about or Insta about. Say,
hey, we're going to have a feature on Matt Beasler this week. Find out what he thinks about this and this and this and how the team's been playing. And try to drive the ratings and get people to watch based on kind of teasing that out on social media.
Not only are people watching the event, they can have that sort of interaction, which can make them more engaged in the broadcast.
In the past, I used to bring up 2 or 3 tweets a game, and then people get a big kick out of that. The problem is do you become, if you become too reliant on including social media into the shows, do you lose any credibility? How do you kind of casually work it in, or does something become sponsored? And then you're starting a whole different conversation.
The soccer match, it won't have any commercial breaks during the game. You've only got a break during halftime, and nothing else interrupts the run of play.
That's where a vast majority of our sponsor elements come into play. Pre-game show, halftime show, and post-game show.
It's part of doing a soccer broadcast that you kind of have to fit those advertisements in as you can.
Papa John's shutout for slicers. 2 days after each game where Sporting KC records a shutout, receive 50% off your online order. Enter promo code SportingKC at papajohns.com.
I think it helps the broadcast when, you know, there's a pizza shutout in different ways that gives back to the fan.
It's fun because it gives you something to watch for in the game, you know, whether it's you want to see a shutout just so that people could get the opportunity for a pizza or slices.
I think that ultimately is going to keep people continue to keep watching. I do think though, like more of people that just enjoy soccer, I'm going to watch the game regardless. But I do think that that's really just going to, you know, increase viewers, get more people watching, because I mean, if you are somewhat interested in soccer, but you know that there's potential you can get a free pizza out of it or a discounted pizza or whatever, you're gonna stick with it. You're gonna learn more about it, get more excited.
You have to get real creative with how you do that, because you do need to find that balance of not making it a watered down broadcast with plugging names and companies all game long.
I would like to see them kind of get away from some of the sponsorship in there, just because I think, to me, it takes away from the broadcast.
I think they're in a sweet spot with that. I think if they did any more, it might be too much. I mean, you have the Main Street 60th minute, and you have the Coors Light time, and then you have, if they score, they get there's Buffalo Wild Wings. There's stuff at that, and the price dropper fresh days. I think it's good to have like a healthy balance of that. But like anything, if they did too much more, I think it would get a little distracting.
Well, I think the most important thing right now is definitely getting a higher TV audience.
So more eyeballs, whether that's on television, whether that's on mobile, and whether that's on English speaking or whether that's on Spanish speaking broadcasts in America.
Part of this is the brand is growing and we're getting more fans. And the more fans that we develop, the higher the ratings can go.
But if it can continue to follow that trend, which has been going up, up, and up over the past 4 or 5 years, MLS is going to be in really good shape.
The gratifying point for me is when, and we've done this multiple times this year, is when we've got 20,000 people in the stands here, and we've got 20,000 people or more watching it on TV. You know, those are the gratifying moments where you just say, yeah, this is making considerable progress. And I think the more awareness we develop in the community, the higher those ratings will go.